That's the Nothing Personal Word of the Day. It is Wednesday, November 26th, 2025. And if you are listening to me right now as you go through TSA, biggest travel day of the year, day before Thanksgiving, if I'm in your car, thank you. If you're watching me on DraftKings Network, hell yeah. Or you're live on YouTube, Nothing Personal with David Samson. Subscribe. Enjoy. Depth. We're all out of our depth, aren't we, at the end of the day? We're all looking for depth, meaning I'm going to use it in the sports way because a big trade happens in baseball. Well, it's not a big trade, but a trade that happens around Thanksgiving gets exciting. The hot stove is simmering, baby. The Boston Red Sox acquired a pitcher. That's only a quarter of the story. Sonny Gray, you know his name. He's decent. He's fine. Middle of the rotation guy. A depth piece. Don't believe any of the Boston Red Sox people. Come on, Will. Are you going to go with Sonny Gray as a legit number 2? Of course you're not. But I'm in. We all are desperate for it. The Red Sox acting more like the Dodgers and the Yankees and the Mets right now. Sonny Gray is a manifestation of that. The Red Sox are paying Sonny Gray $21 million. And that sounds like a lot of money, doesn't it? But guess what? The Cardinals, who traded Sonny Gray, are paying Sonny Gray $20 million. Now do the math and just take a seat, take a breath, do the Goose Fraba. Sonny Gray's going to make $41 million this year. It's almost impossible to believe. The depth of the horrific nature of the contract that the Cardinals signed him to. And I remember well when the Cardinals signed to this deal, there were a bunch of people all happy, whistling Dixie out of their pituitary gland, and we were saying, whoa. This is another example where it takes 2 teams to pay the contract of one pitcher, which gives more ammunition to the commissioner's office and to other owners when they look and say, wow, we got to be careful trying to upgrade mediocrity into the levels of greatness. You can upgrade it in terms of what they're paid, but it doesn't make them great. So Sonny Gray had $40 million guaranteed to him for the next 2 years, and that was a $35 million contract for this coming season, and then a $5 million buyout, and he was never going to have his contract opted into next season by the Cardinals in 27, I should say. So he had $35 million coming this year, $5 million coming next year in a buyout. As part of this trade, they actually changed his contract. Instead of the $40 million over the next 2 seasons, the way it's going to work is he's going to get paid $31 million next year instead of $35. And then he's going to get a buyout of $10 million instead of a buyout of $5 million. So it's 31 plus 10 is 41. Why was he guaranteed an extra $1 million? How does it work when you negotiate with an agent and with the union as you are trying to figure out how to manage finances? The union has to approve it, and the union will not let you change the present value of your contract without getting something in return. It is better to get $35 million this year and $5 million next year than it is to get 31 this year and 10 next year. That is a present value mathematical certainty, like 2 plus 2 equals 4. So if the teams go to Sonny Gray and say, listen, we'd like you to change your payout, Sonny Gray and the union say, that'll be $1 million, please. And now, depending on the discount rate chosen, I could very cogently make an argument, and I will, that Sonny Gray actually benefited. He actually got more money for agreeing to spread out the money by getting the extra $1 million. Now, why would this trade happen? Why would the Cardinals pay $20 million to a pitcher to not pitch for them as they are trying to figure out what to do with their team. Because otherwise, they were going to have to pay him $35 million. Just think about it. Would you rather pay 35 to a pitcher who may get hurt, may not perform, your team is not expected to do much of anything in the NL Central, or would you rather pay 20? It sounds totally insane. Paying money for a player not to play for you. But when you have a chance to get out from under a contract and you find a team like the Red Sox, and listen, there aren't a lot of teams who are taking Sonny Gray and giving him $20 million. Not a lot of them. The Red Sox, as they search for depth, they're calling around, and this is when, as a small revenue team, you have to really think about when you're doing these contracts, because what you're waiting for is one of the big revenue teams to pick up the phone and call you and say, you know what, I'll take that guy. I'm not going to pay full freight, but I'll take that guy off your hand. From experience, there is no worse feeling than when you have to trade a player who you cannot afford because your team isn't good enough, or he's not playing well enough, or you think he could play better, but he hasn't played well. And then you trade him to a team, and the team makes you pay part of his contract. The Marlins are paying part of Stanton's contract. We paid part of Delgado's contract when we traded him to the Mets. It just feels horribly for St. Louis to look themselves in the mirror and know they're paying part of the money to the Red Sox. Terrible, except you do it because the benefits outweigh that crappy feeling of the mistake you've made. What I enjoy is listening to Craig Breslow, the head of the Red Sox, who talked about this trade, and he was honest. Finally, he said, we've been pretty transparent about our desire to add to the rotation and our desire to add a bat. Now, be careful when you say add a bat, because if you bring back Alex Bregman, you have not added a bat because he was with you last year, though he is a free agent. So we would encourage our GMs not to talk about adding anything when we were worried about signing our own free agents, re-signing our own free agents. We would just say that we really want the continued contribution of player X, in this case, Alex Bregman. But Sonny Gray is definitely an add to the rotation. Does he make their rotation a Dodgers-like rotation? Don't forget, it's led by Garrett Crochet. Remember him from last year? Cy Young finalist, really, really good. Don't sleep on Brian Bello, good. The rest of the rotation, young names. They're all a bunch of 4-5s. But for the Red Sox, what they've learned, what every team has learned, if you can have 10 to 13 pitchers, of which 9 of them are 4-5s, and then 3 of them are 2-3s, and 1 of them is a 1, and you can load manage them during the course of the season the way the Dodgers did last year, that's the copycat that I've been telling you about. And the Red Sox look like that's what they're now trying to do. They're trying to figure out how to get the most pitchers they can. 13 of them would be my guess. And again, the split, 9 of them, 4-5s, 3 of them, 2-3s, 1 of them, a 1. If you can do that, you can win in the big leagues. It's hard to find. It's just hard to find ones. There are not a lot of them. The math is simple. 30 teams in Major League Baseball. There are 30 opening day starters. There are not 30 number 1 starters. There's 30 starters who pitch in the number 1 hole, but there are not 30 number 1s. There is a time in my career when I could count the number of number 1s on one hand, and I realized that that's every time. The actual number 1s, the actual aces. One of them is in Pittsburgh, Paul Skenes. He is an ace, a number 1 starter. News came out yesterday. There was a part of the last collective bargaining agreement that we touched on this show when it happened many years ago. And you would think that people would have focused on it more. but it was a huge deal for the young players. It's something called a pre-arbitration bonus pool. I've covered on this show a lot. It is money that goes to players who are making the league minimum because they have not accrued 3 years of service time, or they have not achieved Super 2 status, which is when you have 2+ years of time in the big leagues, and it's enough of a plus that you can be arbitration eligible for an extra time. So there are players who are eligible for this pre-arb pool, and it is split according to formulas. Like, did you get MVP votes? Did you get Cy Young votes? Where did you finish? Are you an all-NBA player? What is your WAR? It is not a bunch of owners and union people taking a list of all young players and saying, let's give this guy $100,000, that guy $50,000, that guy $500,000. It is an agreed upon, negotiated in the collective bargaining agreement formula. Paul Skenes got $3.4 million of the $50 million pool this year. It was just announced yesterday. If you're good at doing math, you could have figured out that he was getting 3.4 because of where he finished in Cy Young, number one, where he finished in MVP out of the top 5, where he finished in all NBA, 4869, where he finished in all MLB. But what's noteworthy, and the pre-arb bonus pool, that doesn't come from the team. That money is paid for out of a slug of money that is part of the commissioner's money and the union's money. It is part of the industry's money. So when you're looking at a team payroll, do not increase the Pirates' payroll by the $3.4 million. Do not count that toward any luxury tax when a Dodgers player gets a percentage of it. And also note, it's for the young players. So the Dodgers had a young player, Roki Sasaki, young only in that he had not been in the big leagues before, was a huge part of the Dodgers winning the World Series. His eligibility in the pre-arb pool is 0. Foreign-born professional players who come over to baseball, think Yamamoto, think a bunch of the Japanese players coming over this offseason. They're not free agents. They have to gain service time like every other player, but they cannot take money from this pre-arb pool. This was a tough negotiation because one of the basic principles of the union during their bargaining is that they wanted more money getting to players faster. And baseball, in its amazing infinite wisdom and the fact that they can out-negotiate everybody, they came up with this pool idea. And if you think about it, it's such a tiny amount of money. $50 million split amongst 101 players. 101 players, just to do quick math, that's about an eighth of baseball, just roughly. And if you then extrapolated that, that would be $400 million if you were giving it to, so 50 million times 8, it's 1/8, you can do the math, just say $400 million. Imagine if that were a pool of money that were being given out. And you're thinking to yourself, $400 million, Kyle Tucker's going to get more than $400 million. But you've got to remember that the money from this pool is going to guys who make $700,000 or $800,000. And the bottom of the pool, a guy for the Nationals made $150,000 from this pool of the $50 million. $150,000 bonus in a regular job is unheard of. In a baseball job, it's unheard of. For a player, it's amazing. We give like $50,000 to be a silver slugger or a gold glove. An $150,000 bonus for the 101st player, a guy who wasn't even the top 100 in WAR, is amazing. And then it's the exceptions. Again, Paul Skenes, Nick Kurtz, Rookie of the Year, got $1.2 million. There are so few players who are accessing so few dollars that I was thinking about this pre-arb pool and what it's going to look like in the next collective bargaining agreement, and at what point Major League Baseball will choke on the size of the number. Because if I'm the union, I want that pool going up to 100 million or 150 million. I want to spread out money not just to all the pre-arb players. I want to augment arbitration awards. I want to get money to non-tendered players who are then re-signed below what they would have gotten in arbitration. Adolis Garcia, $9.25 million, non-tendered by the Rangers, free agent. He's going to be signed. If I'm the union, I want to make him whole. I want to find as much money as I can from the pot of money that is the owners, at least in the minds of the union, and I want to expand this concept because players making more than the minimum through this pool has the actual effect of raising the minimum, which is something that has been very important to the union over the years. And owners have balked at it because when the minimum goes up too much, your payroll is going up because you've got a lot of minimum players, and it's going up more so for the low revenue teams, the low payroll teams who have more players at the minimum. So it hurts a team like the Marlins more than it hurts a team like, the Yankees. So we should be watching this, Coca, because this pre-arb pool concept is going to be a focus in collective bargaining, and we'll see where it comes out. But it certainly isn't sexy enough to get too much attention, except for me. I love that Mat Ishbia is being sued. Mat Ishbia is the owner of the Phoenix Suns. You can go over to Pablo Torre Finds Out and watch a whole episode about Mat Ishbia and the nightmare that is him. Now, he's no Sarver. I will grant you that the NBA has done an upgrade by bringing in Ishbia versus Sarver. No doubt. By the way, the devil would have been an upgrade over Sarver. But Ishbia has been nothing but trouble, Jackie Gleason style. He has had trouble winning games. He has overpaid underperforming players. He has had issues with his partners. There's issues in the organization, surprise, surprise. All of it leads to a huge headache, and yesterday the headache continued for Adam Silver and the rest of the National Basketball Association. There's a lawsuit going on that is very near and dear to my heart. You see, Mat Ishbia has a bunch of limited partners, and they're very, very limited. They don't own a big percentage of the team. They don't have any power in the NBA. They don't have a seat in the room where it happens, at the table where decisions are made. They have to buy season tickets like the rest of us. And they're upset. They're upset with their general partner, Mat Ishbia. Mat Ishbia is supposed to be taking care of not just Mat Ishbia, but also his partners. A general partner in a partnership of which we were with the Marlins and the Expos, the general partner has a fiduciary duty to act in the best interests of all of the partners, not just himself. Mat Ishbia is being accused of using the Phoenix Suns, and I quote, as a piggy bank for himself. So this lawsuit was similar to the one filed by our minority partners in the Expos and the Marlins, in that they felt that we had done things that they weren't aware of that were unfair. And as you know from many interviews that I've done, they lost, and they lost hard. They didn't win one motion. They didn't win one objection. They had no case because we followed the letter of the contract, the four corners of the contract, and how our behavior was governed as it relates to limited minority partners. Because your behavior is in a contract. How many times you have to meet with them, whether or not you have to offer them shares of the team when you're out selling some of your shares, whether in a capital call situation, is there a dilution principle? The concept I talked about in the Expos documentary, the whole genesis of the lawsuit is we did a capital call, the minority partners did not answer, and then Jeffrey Loria did and ended up going from 12% to 98% of the team. Well, Mat Ishbia did a capital call as well. And the difference in this case that I enjoy so very much is that what they're saying, what the limited partners are saying, and they call themselves minority partners, they're not, it's just limited partners. They don't own a lot of the team. What they're claiming is that Mat Ishbia did a capital call because the Phoenix Suns are getting rocked, by the way. It's not just that they're a bad team. They are bleeding money on an annual basis. So in order to pay for that money, they have no more capacity to borrow, so they've got to raise money from the owners. So Mat Ishbia does a capital call. Except Mat Ishbia did not answer his own capital call. Mat Ishbia did not fund his share of the capital call. If you ask for $10 from the partnership and you own 50% of the partnership, you're responsible for $5 of that capital call. If you own 10% of the partnership and it's a $10 capital call, do the math, you're doing great, you owe $1. We had a provision that if you don't pay your dollar, then we're going to take your shares because we'll put in the dollar for you. What the minority partners are claiming is subtly the opposite. They're saying Ishbia did the capital call, but then he didn't respond to it. And why is that a big deal? Because the rule of these minority partnership agreements, because we have the same provision, if any one of the partners does not fund a capital call, then every other partner has a right to fund that partner's share. So if I'm responsible for $1 and I don't do it, I have to go to my partners and say, would you like to do the extra $1? Because you're invited to do the extra $1. And if you do the $1 and I don't do the $1, then you're going to get some of my shares. And what the minority owners are saying is that, hey, you never told us that you weren't doing this capital call. You never mentioned to us that we would have had a chance to put in money to get some of your shares. And on top of that, we think you're committing fraud. We think that you have acted in a way that is costing us money as partners. This is a run-of-the-mill standard partnership dispute. The minority partners have very little chance of succeeding against the general partner. The laws really do protect general partners because it's a pain in the neck to be a general partner. But listen about this. Mat Ishbia, when you're sued, what's the number one rule? Raise your hand if you know the rule, what you do when you're sued. Anyone? I can't hear you. In the cheap seats, what do you got? Yes, shut the hell up. You do not talk when you are being sued. You do not talk publicly. You don't talk about it to anyone other than your lawyer. Mat Ishbia went on Draymond Green's podcast. If I'm Adam Silver, I am calling up Mat Ishbia and saying, listen, man, you got to do me a favor. This isn't about Draymond, even though I'd rather that he focus on his playing career and not worry about doing podcasting. But don't worry about that. You as an owner of a different team going to talk to Draymond Green and then saying, man, these people think they just, this is all about money. All they think about is money. And he said to his partners through Draymond Green, I don't know what you're complaining about. We bought this team at a $4 billion valuation, and right now it's $6 billion. It's gone up. Instead of suing me, Mat Ishbia said, why don't you just say thank you? And I'll say you're welcome. Mat Ishbia doesn't understand the lawsuit. The reason why they want your shares and wanted an opportunity to fund the capital call that you didn't fund is that the team has gone up in value. That's the whole point of having more shares. Hello? Secondly, if you are Mat Ishbia and you are taking money out of the team that you're not allowed to take as the general partner, if you are doing business at less than arm's length away with sponsors or vendors or any other part, you've got to disclose that to your minority partners. I've not read the Ishbia partnership agreement, but I'll bet your last dollar that that partnership agreement is super much similar to our partnership agreement. And inside that agreement, it says these are the 10 things that you can do without us. These are the 20 things that you can't do without us. These are the 4 things that neither of us will do. One of the things that you cannot do in the Ishbia partnership agreement is hide. And it seems like Ishbia is doing that until he shows up on Draymond Green. So I am quite interested to see how this lawsuit ends. I do have my suspicions that it ends with a dismissal. There will not be an arbitration in this case the way we had to go to arbitration with our partners. There will not be the inside of a courtroom with a judge and a jury. None of that is going to happen. But if I'm Adam Silver and I'm looking at Mat Ishbia and he has been nothing but trouble, I'm saying, Matt, you got to do yourself a favor and get your team in line, which is code word for be more responsible. We'll see if it actually works. Let's review a movie, Coca. Hi, it's David Samson. I'm here to review a movie. And you may not think it's Thursday because it's not. But guess what? We're still reviewing a movie from the top 100 list of mine. Go to davidsamsonpodcast.com. Buy some merch. It's holidays. Thank you. I got a couple pictures yesterday of people wearing Nothing Personal shirts. It does make me feel good. Actually, it was a hoodie, and it was someone drinking from a Coke. I forgot what that's called. A tumbler. That sounds like the wrong word, but something where you can drink and it stays hot and stays cold or whatever. So enjoy davidsamsonpodcast.com. On that website is a list of my top 100 movies, and every Thursday I will review a movie from the top 100. This week, it's Stranger Than Fiction. I'm going to my Notes app because I keep on my Notes app from June of 2011, which is amazing how many years ago that is. I've got a quote from this movie, Stranger Than Fiction. Emma Thompson, Queen Latifah, Will Ferrell, Maggie Gyllenhaal. It's so good. You know the piece of memorabilia I have from it, which is the hospital gown that Harold Crick wore at the end when a wristwatch did indeed save Harold Crick. But the line when Queen Latifah is trying to tell Emma Thompson, who's a writer in this movie and just a chef's kiss. Emma Thompson is a smoker, and she tends to stand in the rain looking and picturing how to end books and end people's lives in the books, end her characters' lives. That's what the movie's about. And she tends to spit in her hand and put her cigarette out, or have a wet tissue and put her cigarette out. And Queen Latifah, as her assistant, trying to get her to finish a book, brings her a box of nicotine patches. And this is in my phone from 15 years ago. And Emma Thompson responds, "A nicotine patch? I don't need a nicotine patch. I smoke cigarettes." I don't know, Coca. Maybe you had to be there. Maybe you had to deliver the line. There's a million lines like it. It's a brilliant movie. It is one of my favorites. I have it at number 79. I'm not sure why it's so low. And we'll see in my new top 100 where it ends up. Next week, we will do a show on Thursday. Coke and I have not discussed the schedule next week, post-Thanksgiving, but we're likely going to have to go back to the 3-day Monday, Wednesday, Thursday schedule, as I'm still trying to iron out things with my daughter, and I have yet to plug in the iron. But we will do a Thursday show, and we will review The Descendants, number 56 on my list. This weekend, I'm finally going to do it for you, Coca. We're going to watch and review Frankenstein Monday. It's on Netflix. It's free. Watch Frankenstein. All right, let's do... Oh, I can't wait for this one. It's so much better when we win, especially when it's the DraftKings sponsored nothing personal pick of the day. Once a week, we do an actual read for DraftKings where it says, our nothing personal pick of the day presented by DraftKings. And then I post it on Twitter at David P. Samson. And I don't keep separate track of that. I'm 144 and 148, and we are running out of months here. We've got about a month left to get back to and get over 500. So I'm very cognizant of that wait to see, which I have. Last night, there was something going on in the 11 p.m. Peacock game, and we talked about it yesterday during the segment. We didn't understand why the Lakers were only favored by 4.5 points over the Clippers, and we ended up being right. The Lakers crushed the Clippers. The Clippers. After the game, Ty Lue talked about the importance of Kawhi Leonard and the importance of him not being injured. Kawhi Leonard talked about the importance of trying to play better and trying to have the team together. The reality is the experiment of having a bunch of septuagenarians playing basketball, it turns out it doesn't work. Steve Ballmer must be losing his mind, knowing that he is overseen in his new arena, surrounded by all the investigations and all of the drama. He is basically proven to be a failure as a money spender, which is hard to be. Except if you're a new owner in sports when you spend money and it just gets wasted almost every single time. I don't know why new owners do that. I've called that new owner-itis. Steve Ballmer is not a new owner. He's been around for long enough that his itis should have been cured. I mean, how many Z-Packs does the guy need to take to not have clemitis anymore? But the Clippers are bad. The Lakers, on the other hand, do you think that Nico Harrison, fired by the Mavericks, is watching Luka play on the Dodgers? On the 4869. Do you think that Nico Harrison, now fired by the Mavericks, is watching the Lakers and watching Luka and saying, wow, I'm never going to live this one down? Well, LeBron's back playing. Luka's playing. They've got Austin Christopher Reeves playing, and they're winning. I wanted to mention what is going on with LeBron because I am a straight Michael Jordan guy. That should be very clear. Honored to have watched LeBron play in Miami for the 4 years he played, watch him go to the finals, win 2 championships. Just 4 great years, separating the fact that I rooted against them so hard because we were running a team in that community and we wanted their season to end. But appreciating the greatness, not the goatness, the greatness. Here's a little stat for you. LeBron James extended last night his double-digit scoring streak. He has scored 10 points or more, 1,295 straight games that he's played. I want to just put that in perspective. Over 18 years, he's played 1,295 games. And he scored 10 or more points in every one of the games, which means he doesn't do a Rozier. He doesn't come in and then go out. He doesn't do a Jonte Porter. This is a guy, when he plays, he performs. He's performing long enough that he's eligible to vote. He's performing long enough that he is on the cusp of drinking. This is a 40-year-old plus player who still is getting it done in a way, it's mind-boggling. But an article came out yesterday that there is a streak that he has that is likely going to come to an end, and it's not the double-digit streak. He has yet another streak that is crazy. LeBron James has been an all-NBA player for 21 straight years. Please, just let that marinate if you don't mind. 21 straight years All-NBA. If you don't know what the All-NBA is, you can be All-NBA. First team, second team, third team. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. That's top 15. He's been a top 15 player for 21 straight. It can't be, Coca. That sort of award and longevity and unbelievable performance, it's super, super rare. Why is it noteworthy? Because this year, he is very likely to play the minimum required of games required to be an all-NBA player. Do you remember the load management rule where you have to play 65 games? Well, LeBron James, in order to get to 65 games, he missed the first part of the season with his sciatica, and now he's back. Well, he's going to have to play just about every game the rest of the way, and it is very unlikely that the Lakers, who are owned by the same guy who owns the Dodgers, Mark Walter, and that they're very aware that the way to win in the playoffs is to rest your players during the regular season. The Lakers have an owner that believes in load management, that has watched load management work for his team. You don't think he's going to bring that to bear with the Lakers? Of course he is. Is he willing to pay whatever fines are required by the NBA for violating the load management rules? It is a drop in the bucket because the benefit to the Lakers making a deep postseason run, not just for the Lakers, but by the way, for the NBA also, is so significant that the NBA will have to fine the Lakers because they've got to show other teams that they'll do it. But deep down, the NBA is wanting the Lakers to rest its players. It wants the Lakers to have a deep run April through June because it's a difference maker in this year one of the media rights agreements. Having the Lakers and the Knicks go as far as possible is going to be positive. LeBron James being a part of that at his age, such a critical part, it's hard to imagine. I got 3 picks for you coming up, if that's okay, because we've got so much coming with Thanksgiving football. Here's the theory that people are saying, that there is a chance that tomorrow, Thursday, November 27th, at 1 o'clock when the Packers play the Lions, that could be the most watched regular season game of all time. And they will hold the record for about 12 minutes because the 4 o'clock game is Chiefs-Cowboys. There is a thought that could draw over 50 million people. Now, I could argue very persuasively that there is inflation going on with these numbers. It is fun for everyone to report about. It's become a big thing. MLB reports Japan, Canada, U.S., 50 million people, Game 7, World Series, highest since, and then choose the date that'll make you look the best, 2017, greatest Game 7 since 2019, whatever. NFL loves the announcements, believe me. We've got 95 of the 100 top-rated shows of the year. Believe me, they like it. They like when they get to say, they love, actually, when they get to say, more people watch this regular season game than combined watched the World Series and the NBA Finals. Could it happen? Wait to see is when we tell you something's going to happen. If it does, fine. If it doesn't, fine. We are doing an official wait to see here. Now, be with me, Coca. The first 2 games of Thanksgiving, Packers-Lions, Cowboys-Chiefs, together will draw more than 90 million people. That means 90 million, not individual users, because some of us may be watching both games. But there will be over 90 million between those first 2 games, and that boggles my mind. The numbers are so out of this world that it's not even like baseball wants to achieve them. Well, they want to achieve them. It's not like Major League Baseball or the NBA. Forget Major League Soccer. Forget the NHL. Nobody can do these numbers, ever. Now, is it a Thanksgiving issue? Because the NBA could play on Thanksgiving. NFL, by the way, is playing on Black Friday, which is 2 days from now. But the NBA, they're not doing games until like late at night on Thursday? What if they did some afternoon games like Christmas Day? What if we had some competition? Do you think that if you had one TV and it's Thanksgiving with your family, are you watching football or are you watching basketball? And does your mind, there's not one game on Thanksgiving? That's your topic for later? Hold on, Coca. Just edit that out then. Oh my God, what are we talking about? Oh God, that's funny. All right, let me explain what just happened, and I'll be very quick about it. Coca has a list of things that he's going to talk about in the second hour, and apparently this is what he's talking about. I did not realize, even though it's now I see it right in front of me. Sorry, Coca. All right, I'll just not talk about it, but I will want your view of my wait to see. All right, let's give the picks. Packers, of course, the Packers plus 2.5 versus the Lions. This is sort of a must-win game, actually, for both teams. The Packers and Lions they're chasing the Bears. And it's not as though they're throwing wild cards around so easily in the NFC. This is a huge game. Who would you rather have? I'd rather have the Packers. Packers plus 2.5. The afternoon game is the Chiefs-Cowboys. I'm taking the Chiefs. They're giving 3.5. The Cowboys, if they lose, they're out. The Chiefs, if they lose, they're out for all intents and purposes. Who do you believe more? That Patrick Mahomes and Taylor Swift are going to miss the playoffs, or that Dak Prescott and Stephen Jones are going to miss the playoffs? Where do you believe? Well, I believe that NFL loves them Chiefs. Chiefs minus 3.5 over the Cowboys. Sunday, I'm going to be watching many fewer games, but I got one for you. The Buffalo Buffs are 3.5-point favorites over the Roger fractured wrist Steelers. I assume you're looking at Josh Allen over Mason Rudolph. I don't imagine Aaron Rodgers will be playing again. Bills 3.5. They need the win. Sounds crazy, right? But they actually do. So we're taking the Bills minus 3.5 over the Steelers. Those are your three picks for the Thanksgiving weekend. Speaking of the Bills, Coca, they released something yesterday that brought me back to my days running a team. It led to unbelievable irritation on my skin, a bit of rash that's not eczema, required some Lubriderm, and maybe some Aquaphor. Do you know the Buffalo Bills are building a new stadium? Did you know that the Buffalo Bills are spending a couple bill on their new stadium? Did you know the Bills are charging people personal seat licenses like a dream when we were building Marlins Park, but we couldn't do it? There wasn't enough market for it. Where you pay for the right to pay for a seat? And did you know that according to the Buffalo News, the Buffalo Bills are going to sell out the entirety of their new stadium, which opens next season, with season ticket holders? That they will have sold over 54,000 personal seat licenses. The entire number for the new stadium at Orchard Park, the entire capacity is over 60,000. You can't sell 60,000 tickets per game. It's why the paid attendance is always below the number of seats, because there are comp seats. You have to give seats to the NFL. You have to give seats to the visiting team. You have to give seats, in theory, to your employees, your ownership. So there's a bunch of seats that are taken off the manifest. When we give a capacity for a new ballpark, we include every actual seat in the ballpark. When there is a suite, if you've got a 10-person suite that has 10 seats in it, there are 10 tickets to that suite. The number for the total capacity of the stadium includes those 10 seats of the suite. If you have a group suite, which is just a big standing room area, and there are no seats associated with it, that doesn't count toward your capacity, which is why when you go to a suite at a stadium, when you go to the outside part of the suite closest to the field, you will always see a number of seats associated with that suite, because those seats are what counts toward capacity and toward a sellout, etc. The reason why the Bills have to stop at 54,000 season ticket holders is they need the remaining seats for various things that they need them for. But the craziest thing here is that when you do the math for constructing your ballpark, the reason why you do personal seat licenses is that you go to a bank and you say to the bank, could we borrow money? The collateral is going to be that we're selling these things called personal seat licenses, and we expect to sell X thousand of them. That will generate X millions of dollars, and we will use that to pay you back, but we need the money right now for our construction fund. That is how you build a stadium. You borrow money based on what you believe and can convince the banks will be the performance of the underlying collateral. Yesterday, we talked about Chauncey Billups putting up his $5 million, putting up his house in Colorado to cover his $5 million bond. That is the view that that house is going to be worth $5 million if it has to be sold by the court if Chauncey goes bye-bye. When you're a football team or a baseball team looking to borrow money and you're using PSLs, the bank has to believe you can sell them, because if you don't, they could end up getting screwed if you don't pay the bank back, because they don't get the value of the team as collateral. Specifically, they would get PSL revenue as collateral. So banks are very reticent to do deals with teams based on personal seat licenses. There are very few teams who can use personal seat licenses in this way. My hat's off to Buffalo, to the fans of Buffalo. Now, you could argue with me, and I'd be fine. Hey, what else are you going to do in Buffalo? You're going to watch the Sabres? You're going to watch the Buffalo Braves? You're going to watch the Buffalo Bisons? Like, what are we doing? And during the winter, we could hibernate, or we could watch Bills games and go to Bills games. It's like a holiday. You don't get that. Miami doesn't have personal seat licenses. The number of teams who are able to do it is teensy-tiny. Correlated to the city? I don't think so. I think it's correlated to the affinity for their team. You see, the Buffalo Bills are building their stadium at a time when they've been good, when they've been performing, and there is the view that a Super Bowl is coming. Not the actual Super Bowl, which people think could be played in Buffalo. It's never going to happen. Owners do not want to go to Buffalo during February. Not happening. Hard stop. But the Buffalo Bills being in the AFC Championship game and hosting it, having the opportunity to see playoff games, to see a first Super Bowl. Remember, they lost so many in a row back in the 90s. When you go out and sell this number of PSLs and you take in that money, that gives you such a benefit when you're going out and borrowing money based on other projections, based on other views of your ability to generate revenue. It opens up the world of finance to you in a way that I can only dream about as I sit here today. Should you be nervous in the AFC East as a Jets fan, Pats fan, etc., that this gives the Bills an advantage because they are printing money in a way that other teams cannot, building a ballpark that other teams cannot? You know my answer. Absolutely not. In a capped league, let's go. There's a much more level playing field. But when it comes to the bank account, the Buffalo Bills are crushing. They just look at all the banks in the Buffalo area and around the country. They fly down to New York and they say, hey, give me money. It's just business. Oh, I don't even say that. It's only hour one. We have Coca coming up right after the break. Welcome back to Nothing Personal. It's Wednesday. Now, you'd think that this would be Thursday because that's what it's been for the past few weeks because we're going to have Matthew Coca here for this hour. Or you'd think it's Friday because that's what we had done up until September 12th. But we're doing it Wednesday because there's no show tomorrow, no show Friday. It's Thanksgiving. And there's no way we can let a week go by without hearing from him because he builds up all of this rage inside my ear every single show. And now he has a chance to say it, and I really screwed him this time so badly. If you listen to hour one, I think I took 10 of the things away from him that he wanted to talk about. But yet we have 10 subjects that I didn't even get to that I wanted to talk about. So we'll see what Coca wants to do this hour. Without further ado, let's go, Coca. Where are you? I want to look at you on Nothing. There you are. Good morning, Coca. Wait, you're nodding in an audio format? What are people supposed to take from that who are listening to the show right now?
They have to watch. You have to subscribe to YouTube to just see me shaking my head at you. I just don't understand how you went from doing the Nothing Personal pick of the day to just absolutely thieving away my first topic that is in the rundown, which is about the Thanksgiving Day games and the viewership of the Thanksgiving Day games and the NBA not playing on Thanksgiving like you thought they were, but playing on Black Friday. I mean, I can't believe it. Now people think that we don't have a prep meeting, even though we do have a prep meeting. And nowhere in the prep meeting did you say, hey, during the pick of the day, I'm going to talk about viewership and give a wait to see on what the viewership is going to be during the Thanksgiving Day games.
I just will tell you that I had an out-of-body experience the first hour. It's been a week, and I've got a day ahead of me that starts as soon as we're done with this show right now. But I can just tell you that I had some recollection of reading something about numbers for the Thanksgiving Day games, and it did not occur to me that I would have read it in our rundown. I didn't envision it or remember that. I thought it was some article I read somewhere else, and I thought it just fit well because I was picking the first two Thanksgiving Day games, so why not also talk about the number of people watching? I'm sorry, Matt. I really am sorry.
All right, we'll just move past it and talk a little bit about that Chiefs and Cowboys game because it's an important game for both teams. Because right now, if you look at the playoff standings, both of those teams are in 10th when it comes to, where they actually are. So the Chiefs are in 10th, the Cowboys are in 10th. So each of these teams needs to win games, and they definitely need to win this game to better position themselves. Because could we be looking at a playoff with no Chiefs? Like, what to you, would that automatically eliminate Patrick Mahomes from any sort of GOAT conversations to you if they were to just miss the playoffs and not miss the playoffs in a year where he's hurt? It's a year where he is, fully healthy, and he would just miss it. So, he's trying to chase Tom Brady. He's trying to get there.
How far behind is he?
How many rings does Brady have? I mean, I hate doing this stuff off the top of my head.
Doesn't he have 7?
Yeah. So, I mean, he's not close, but.
And Mahomes, how many of the Chiefs won? Only 2? Or have they won 3?
2 or 3. I'm pretty sure somebody in chat will correct us on this. But, the Chiefs are aging out, right? This could be Travis Kelce's last season. And then, they have to start over. And if you look at their schedule, they still have the Texans, the Broncos, and the Chargers, which could all be playoff teams right there. But the luck for them, the luck of the draw and the luck of scheduling is these late games, they have them all at home. And those are the toughest games that the Chiefs have left. When you look at the Cowboys, they have the Chiefs now. They still have the Lions coming up the following week. And then they still have the Chargers. So it's going to be a really tough go for the Cowboys to make the playoffs, which could really hurt the Jerry Jones as being the ultimate GM, because they had that great comeback against the Eagles last week, and now it's really is going to be tough for them to get into the playoffs.
Well, Coca, first of all, I think that, I don't know if you're still upset from me talking about Thanksgiving Day games. Who talks about Jerry Jones as a great GM? I mean, that ship has sailed. I don't care what he does. He could win the Super Bowl this year. I think it's done in terms of the number of decades he's had between successes. So I think that's finished.
I was just being a joke. That was more of a joke.
A
joke,
was?
saying that he's a great GM.
I didn't sense the sarcasm.
Gotcha.
He's so bad. Now, I didn't realize when I was watching the Chargers-Colts last week, the Chargers won the Chiefs-Colts last week. The Chiefs won that game in overtime and walked it off like 23-20. I didn't realize what you're saying is if the Chiefs had lost that game to the Colts last week, and lost this week to the Cowboys, that you could just pretty much, they're done. So
well, I wouldn't say that they're done, because they can still, turn around and win out and win a couple more games, but it puts them in a situation where every single game, from here on out needs to be a win. If they would have lost to the Colts last week and lost to the Cowboys. But the bigger conversation when it comes to these holidays is, you mistook the NBA having Thanksgiving games, which they haven't done in over a decade, but they do have Black Friday games. And when you look at the Black Friday schedule, the one thing I don't understand is why they're still submitting, right? Why they're just giving up, because the first games on Black Friday for the NBA are at 7:30 at night. You have one Black Friday NFL game, and that's the 3:00 game between, I think it's the Bears and the Eagles, and then you have college football games starting at noon. But why is the NBA not positioning themselves to have that day, to just say, hey, listen, we gave up Thanksgiving, we're losing the Christmas battle already, because the NFL is now, has games scheduled on Christmas. So it's just, if you're that league and you want those eyeballs, why are you not saying, hey, let's do an all-day slate.
Mm-hmm.
Let's start games at 1:00 and just go the entire day. If you want to watch football at 3:00 on Amazon, you can watch that. And if you're Amazon, why are you not saying, hey, we have this 3:00 NFL game, give us a 1:00 lead-in NBA game. Let's have people in our app all Black Friday and turn that, the Amazon experience into, hey, you're going to be shopping for Black Friday, you're going to be watching sports all day long, and you're going to be doing it on our app.
I would assume, Coke, it's in the collective bargaining agreement where the players in the NBA negotiated that they would have Thanksgiving off. And then they also negotiated they would not have to play an afternoon game the next day, which would require travel on Thanksgiving. So if you're the road team in the NBA playing an afternoon Black Friday game, you'd have to leave on Thanksgiving in the middle of your family dinner. So my assumption is it's all collective bargaining based. And I always have thought about this during the course of my career, that how do you feel when you are a Detroit Lion or Dallas Cowboy player? Because for my entire life that I can remember, and we could obviously look this up and check me, the Lions and Cowboys have been playing on Thanksgiving Day for as long as I can remember, which means if you work for that team as a player, as a trainer, whoever you are, you're not getting Thanksgiving on Thanksgiving. And then the broadcasters, I often think about, like Chris Collinsworth is taking the day off because he wants to be with his family for Thanksgiving, so they're bringing in Jason Garrett. I totally get it. Mike Tirico, of course, will do every game every day because that's what he would do. But broadcasters, camera people, producers, directors. So having games on holidays like that, the Christmas Day games in the NBA, we think about that. The players talk about that they were not able to bargain away from Christmas Day, but they were able to bargain away and not plan Thanksgiving Day. I love that there are games for us to watch, but when I was inside the industry, they were not games that we wanted to play under any scenario. So I'm not surprised that the NBA doesn't do it. And they didn't need to with their new broadcast deals. They got $77 billion without having any sort of afternoon Black Friday or Thanksgiving Day game. And I would suggest that's not going to change anytime soon.
How much does the network control when these games would be scheduled? So, like, how much of a say does Amazon have in saying, hey, we want these early games, we want all day games? Because I know it has something to do. Oh my God, there's a reason that the NFL game can only be played at 3 p.m. and it can't be played later. But I'm just wondering, like, how much say does Amazon have in scheduling?
Yeah, Coca, the majority of reasons are collective bargaining.
Antitrust. Sorry, antitrust. That's
So
what I was looking for.
There are broadcast issues, and when slots can be open, those are very antiquated, but they're real. But if you wanted to get an exception to those, you could, to what the available broadcast windows are. But the real truth is on these is you've got the league. Amazon doesn't choose 3 p.m. The league will choose what the time slots will be. There is a conversation about games, because if you are Amazon, Bears Eagles, that's a prime matchup on Black Friday. That's a meaningful game for their slate that gets added to their Thursday night overall slate. When you are the regular CBS and Fox, and you're looking at an NBC, and you're looking at your Thanksgiving Day package, and it's not like the late game is a bad game. I think you're going to be watching that. It could be Joe Burrow's return against your Ravens. Wait, are you going to watch the 8:20 game Thanksgiving night?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Do you wish the Ravens were playing in the 1 o'clock slot, the 4 o'clock slot, or do you like the 8 o'clock slot?
I have no preference.
So will you watch all 3 games?
Possibly. Like if I'm wherever I am on Thanksgiving, if that's an option, I'd watch it.
So what they do is they look at, obviously, the teams, they look at the time zones, and then they look at which teams have been forced to travel over the last several years. You don't force the same team to be on the road 2 years in a row. That is not something that the NFL Players Association nor any Players Association would want or allow. And so you work together. And John Skipper, one of the things that makes me smile about the sporting class with Pablo Torre is John Skipper will deny, and he's not being truthful, but he'll deny any ESPN involvement in any matchups or any, like, Red Sox, Yankees, Sunday Night Baseball. That was done out of the goodness of MLB's heart. No, that's because ESPN demanded Red Sox and Yankees on Sunday Night Baseball. And so if you are the networks, you obviously want the best matchups. But Thanksgiving Day, to me, is the exception to that. Because I believe that families and people watch the Thanksgiving Day, not Black Friday, but the Thanksgiving Day matchups, no matter who is playing. The fact that it is marquee matchups like the Chiefs, Cowboys, and Packers, Lions, that's why I think there'll be a record. But I think that you get unbelievable numbers. I don't know what you have, Coca, but is 40 million around average or 30 million for these Thanksgiving days? It's just, it's pretty remarkable.
So this is the last regular season weekend in college football before we get to the conference championships. And last night was Tuesday night. Yeah, Tuesday night was a pretty important ranking that came out from the college football playoff because Miami bumped up one spot. But the problem with Miami and the problem with the graphic that they continue to show, which is just simply wrong, is that Miami is in the playoff right now as the 11 seed, as the ACC champion. Because there really is no way that they are going to be the ACC champion, and they're going to have to be an at-large team. The positive for them is that SMU, who they lost to, is now ranked, and this weekend they get Pitt, who's now ranked. Mm-hmm. But they are going to have to put up some style points in this game if they want the committee to consider them to be one of these at-large teams. And they're playing Pitt. They're a 7-point favorite. And they're going to have to win this game by like 30 points. That's what I'm saying. I think they're going to have to win by 30 points in order to have any realistic chance of jumping other teams and getting into the playoff at this point.
I'm showing Miami at number 12, but the 11 seed, like 12th ranked team with the 11 seed in the bracket. And that's what you're looking at. They'd play Oregon in the number 6 seed in the first round.
Yeah, but right now that should be Virginia, because Virginia is in the ACC championship game. So like Miami's not going to be playing in the ACC championship game.
So you believe, and this is now the coaching staff has to think about this. It is your thought, and I don't know if you've consulted Mike Ryan on this, that Miami has to. You said style points. Does that mean blowout? It's 57-3 a style point.
Yeah, that's what they're going to have to do.
So that's
what they're going to have to do.
About? Not like interceptions returned for touchdowns, not like beautiful give and goes and beautiful laterals. You're just talking about an old-fashioned ass-kicking of the game.
Yeah, it's got to be a beatdown. Like, that's the only way. So Notre Dame's playing Stanford. So there is always the chance that Notre Dame blows this game, right? And if Notre Dame blows the game, then that's perfect. But if you're Miami, you have to take care of your own business. And that's the way that the committee has set this thing up, because I just don't get what they say where it's, we had discussed it last week where it's head-to-head to them, is kind of important, but not important enough for them to be like, well, in recent weeks, Miami had lost games that they should have won those games, but they are looking better right now. But head-to-head still, it's just like they come up with things. I love the
idea of the whole committee in a room, because I think they do it. Like maybe they're on Zoom, and then Miami's the Hurricanes logo comes up, and they're like, "Hey, what was the score of that last game? Oh, It was like 31-20. Oh, that's not good enough. But okay, we needed like 51-10, like in a frat. Like, oh, he's she's not hot enough, or he's not good looking enough, and they don't let you in the frat or the sorority. You think that's really how they're doing it?
Yeah, it's like college football Tinder. It's college football Tinder. They're just like watching these things. They pull up and they just go through the bio real quick, and they're like, "Oh, that team is 9-2. Okay, those are the wins that they have. Swipe right. Oh, okay, that team just lost. Swipe left." And that's essentially what they're doing, because with each team, they come up with some sort of new excuse or new reasoning as to why this person jumps here or jumps there. Why is the formula that they're using not just public information? Like, why is it some top secret thing that needs to be there? It's the college football playoff. It's been going on for a couple of years now. It shouldn't be a guessing game if you are a team as to what you need to do in order to position yourself into this playoff. Because every other league. What do you mean?
No, Coca. The formula, there's so many different things where it is a formula that you don't even know about. We did a segment earlier today on the pre-arbitration pool, and that is when you've got a straight formula where if you finish in certain places, you know the exact amount of money you are going to get. Mm-hmm. So we agree on that. How would you do a formula in any ranking system? Whether you're ranking the best movies of the year, whether you're ranking the football teams, if you're not doing a seed the way we do it according to record with tie-breaking rules, anything that's subjective, how is it that you think that you can?
Yeah, but there are things that aren't subjective. Head-to-head is not subjective. Strength of schedule is not subjective. Those are things that are there. The data is there. So it's like saying a team is playing a little better recently, that is being subjective. But without giving any sort of context to it, like Notre Dame had a blowout win over the weekend. So that to them is a better win than what Miami was able to do over the weekend. But
that was style points.
Exactly. So like now if Miami beats a ranked Pitt team, did they just rank it? Did they do that as a thing to help Miami by ranking Pitt and ranking SMU? Because it does help Miami in this case. But then you have teams like BYU. If you're BYU and you're 10-1, right? You don't have that second loss. If you're BYU, you're sitting there now like, hold on, what if we don't win the Big 12? Are we going to be able to get into the playoff? Are we out of the playoff? Like what happens with us? So there are all these different teams that are sitting there, not knowing what they need to do, because you can still go out there and win a game, right? You can go out there and win a close game by 3, by 4 points and just say, hey, we won a game, right? We're a ranked team. We won a game. Why are we dropping in these rankings? And this is stuff that actually matters.
Do you not remember the year when the selection committee screwed one of the Florida teams. I want to say it was FAU, but it could have been FIU. And
No,
they
no, no, no.
said it was
Florida State. Florida State. It was
It
Florida
was
State.
FSU.
Yes, sir.
My memory is that it was because there was a quarterback who was hurt.
Yeah, Jordan Travis.
Going to be able to play.
Yep.
When you are, so you know how they think, would you rather have Notre Dame or Miami if you're the committee? Who watches more?
Oh, when
Who
you're
gets watch more?
Listen, I'm not a fool, right? I'm not a fool. Notre Dame is the brand. They're a national
Period.
brand. Yeah.
Miami is not. I mean, we talk about it. The Levitard Show loves Miami. It's very niche. I mean, that's why it's called the Local Hour. And I love how much they love the Heat and they love the Hurricanes and the Panthers. But in a national show, it's not even close. Like, Notre Dame is by far more valuable to a broadcaster and to a CFP than Miami. It's not even close. So I don't even think the style points. I think it would have to be like 126-3 for Miami to oust Notre Dame.
Yeah, well, the good thing is that was my next point. When you bring up a score like that, DraftKings right now has Miami. You can get them at minus 20.5 at plus 345. If you're a Miami fan, and you want to put a little sprinkle on the game because you think Mario Cristobal is just going to say, hey, we need to win this game and we need to win it in blowout fashion, why not just sprinkle some on plus 345? Because then you get the best of both worlds. If you win, you win big and you're hoping your team makes it into the playoff. And that's my scientific formula.
What's the actual line for the game?
It's minus 7.
So 7. So so they're saying
minus 110.
And you're saying a 7-point win by the Hurricanes, they're out.
If Notre Dame wins, if Notre Dame beats Stanford, like it's hard to, like I said, when you don't know what you need to do because winning isn't enough, it's hard to know if Notre Dame wins
Notre Dame
this
favored?
game. Yeah. Stanford's not a great football team.
Let's check. What's Notre Dame favored by? For those of you not watching.
Minus 31.5.
No.
Yeah.
So that's unbelievable. For those of you who are listening to this, Coca does many jobs when we have him on air for 1 hour a week. He's also supposed to be in my ear looking up stuff and doing a million things at once, but it's hard to do both. So this is what happens. I was just thinking, why don't we have Jack available for this hour once a week to slot into your chair to look up stuff and be in our ear? Is that even doable? Have you thought about that? Or is he so busy getting and working with DraftKings Network?
Yeah, he's doing stuff.
He's doing stuff? Because then if we had somebody, then we would have been able to answer our questions. Like, how many rings does Tom Brady have?
Yeah, but like we can just, I always tell you, you could just take a second and look it up. I don't know why.
Well,
nobody thinks, but we're not on that subject anymore. And I don't like when you do this, Like, why can't we just continue to talk about what we're talking about? Because now nobody has any idea what we're talking about anymore.
That was so much college football. How much college football can we talk? 7 rings. He's got 7.
Yeah, we're talking about stuff that's, that's happening in sports. And isn't this our things that interest me? Right?
Mahomes has 3.
Nice.
7-3.
God, you are an emergency you are an emergency brake on talking. That's what it is. Like we are going 100 miles an hour down the tracks, and you just pull the e-brake and just say, "Hey, remember that thing we talked about 30 minutes ago? Let's bring it back. Let's do it."
Mahomes holding 3 rings. If you're watching this on the Nothing Personal with David Samson YouTube channel, I just found it right in the Google. That is 3 big rings. I wonder where Tom Brady, if you have 7 rings, remember my Lon Trost story that I've told you, Coca, that he wears all his Yankee rings on his hands and he's my size, and he wears them on, he doesn't do pinky or thumb, so he wears them on each of the 3 fingers, not the pinky and thumb. When you've got 7 rings, which 3 fingers does he not wear them on? I would assume he doesn't put any on his thumb, but then you got to find yet one more finger not to have it. God, I wanted another ring so badly. Do you know I have a relative who works with the Dodgers, and he got his second ring this year, and he's got twice as many rings as I do, and now leads the family with 2 rings because the Dodgers have 2, and he's still with the Dodgers. He could get a 3rd ring this year, and all of a sudden he's like in Mahomes territory. Shout out to you, Matthew. You are leading the family 2-1, and I'm stuck at 1. I don't see myself getting 2. Not that I'm trying. I don't want it. I'm good. I love nothing personal. I love all of you guys. But, man, when I see you with double, sorry, Coca. I don't know why that was in my head. What else is going on with you? What are you doing for Thanksgiving? Where are you? Did you leave me? All right, I'm going to talk about the Savannah Bananas because I didn't get to that first hour. I got an entire segment I want to do about the Savannah Bananas. Here we go. 4869. Can you believe what the Savannah Bananas are doing right now? It can't. Oh, what?
All right, everybody, if you're watching, I just cut David's microphone, so you will not be able to hear him. He is officially muted. I have hit him with the mute button. Let's talk about college basketball right now. We just did some college football. Now let's get into some college basketball, because what's going on in college basketball is even crazier than what's going on in college football. And I have a big issue with it because when you look at a team like Gonzaga, they're a ranked team right now. They've been a powerhouse team for decades. They have players on their team that have played professionally in Spain. They have players that are in their 8th year of playing college sports, whether it's been JUCO, whether it's been transfers. They have players who are 5th-year players, 6th-year players. It is out of control that you can have players that are 25 years old still playing college basketball. I don't think it's right, and I think something needs to be done. And we had John Calipari on the show, a few months ago talking about this exact thing, where it's just, when does it stop? Are you going to have 30-year-olds still playing college basketball because NIL is a thing and they still have 1 year of eligibility left? Is that what we're doing? Is it just going to be eligibility is what's most important? Or are we going to say, hey, you have to play a certain number of years in a certain number of years? So do you have to play 4 and 5? Do you have to play 3 and 5? Do you have to play 3 and 4? Something just needs to change. And I guess I can unmute his microphone and see what he has to say.
Hello? Are you there? I think you should just finish the show because I could go. You're doing great. Calipari talked about this, and he's got a much greater view of this than you and I do, obviously. But it seems like you're parroting Calipari, which you should. He's a friend, and you should. But I have no issue with it. A lot of the numbers this year are off because of COVID still, but we're getting to the end of that where people got to double dip with COVID. But what's the difference now? College players are professional players anyway. They're all getting paid. I have no issue at all with a 30-year-old college player because it's sort of like a minor league team. It's sort of like a development team, a G League team right now for the NBA. What's the difference? You're basically taking spots away from what? The 5'5" white guys on the end of the bench who never get in the game? Seriously, what are we talking about? I have no problem with it at all. I think we should change it. I don't think eligibility should matter in college. I don't think you should even have to go to the college. And listen, you speak to enough college athletes. I don't want to talk about the fact that people write their papers for them, go to class for them. They take classes where you get an easy A for not showing up, and they're trying to game the system to see if they can graduate. Give me a break. Let's not even pretend anymore. Just sign up. It's just another team. You got 150 more teams.
You have players that are in the G League, who have played in the G League, developmental professional sports leagues, now going back and playing in college basketball. I just
getting paid more.
But I just don't think the spirit of the sport, is college, right? Is you should have it's not anymore. We've changed it into something that it isn't anymore, and it's not just happening, at the basketball level, right? It's happening all across other levels and other sports as well, where it's just like none of it makes sense, and it doesn't. It seems like it's one of those things that everybody is screaming about, but there's nothing there. There's no one there. There is no committee. There is no board who is fixing anything, right? Isn't that supposed to be the NCAA's responsibility?
Well, you do have a board.
The NCAA just doesn't. It's like they're just absent from this whole thing. Their words don't matter because then they just get tied up in lawsuits, and you get these, all these players just get these temporary restraining orders, against their schools, against the NCAA, and whatever they say is just not enforceable, and it just gets pushed another year, right? It just gets pushed down the line.
They definitely don't get temporary restraining orders, but I love when you use legal terms. I love that.
They
can get injunctions.
Yeah, okay.
Temporary injunctions. But listen,
injunction, okay.
I'd like you to argue why, given that you love NIL, and everybody does, everyone wants college players to get paid, what's the difference how old you are? I mean, it's no longer, college is just different. It's not what it was. You've acknowledged that. Given all of that, what is your argument for not having anyone able to play on a college team?
Because it's a competitive advantage to have a 25-year-old playing basketball against an 18-year-old.
Like, why can't everyone have 25-year-olds?
Because there aren't that many good 25-year-olds that aren't in the NBA who still have some sort of eligibility. Like we saw it last year with Auburn's team, right? Where Auburn made it all the way to the national championship or the Final Four. I believe it was the Final Four. And they were essentially older than the Oklahoma City Thunder. And the Oklahoma City Thunder ended up winning the championship. But now you have a Gonzaga team that basically is older than the Oklahoma City Thunder team is. And it's just the difference in the development, the difference in, your physical attributes, the human body itself. 18-year-olds and 19-year-olds should not be, as a whole, playing against 25-year-olds. It just shouldn't happen. And listen, I'm all for players getting paid. I'm not saying that I'm not saying players shouldn't be paid. I want everybody to get paid. I'm just saying that there needs to be a cutoff, right? There needs to be some sort of age where it's like, hey, you weren't good enough when you were 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 years old. Now it's time to go on. And if you have to go professional in something other than sports, then do it. But, having these players come down and play at the college level or still playing in the college level, it's not right for the spirit of the sport.
I'm of the opposite view. I want to open up college completely. I want you to be able, whoever wants to play college can play college. It's just, it's limited by roster spots. I actually don't know the number of roster spots on a college team, but let's assume it's the same 15 as the NBA. And let's assume there's 136 Division I college basketball teams, but for math, let's make it 150. So let's just say you've got 250 college players. We're just making up numbers. Let it be the top 2,200 people who can't get into the NBA, who can't earn a better living as a manager at Walmart, who can't figure out what to do other than they have an agent who gets them a spot on one of the college teams. So I would agree with you that there should be an overhaul, but I want to make it complete where now it is truly a minor league system.
College basketball, there's way more schools. So you're at 361 Division I teams.
That's a lot of jobs available.
Yeah, in college basketball. But then there's also every other level, right? You have the FCS schools, you have Division II, you have Division III. So you have all these, separate divisions where there are these players. So when you're talking about like the 5'5" white guy at the end of the bench, that's something that would just go away. Like that preferred walk-on spot would just go away, just a practice player. But there are a ton of players out there that are good enough for that level. So when you say like, who is the 25-year-old taking a spot away from? Well, it could be one of those other players, right? It could be someone like that. But NIL has opened the door for all these other schools to pay good players to come to their schools. And John had talked about the high school level players too, right? So now you have high school players who are losing out on these spots that you're talking about, and they're the ones who are going to have to, go Division II, or they're going to have to go to a smaller school, and then the transfers continue to happen. So it's just like this, it's this giant wave, right? So 25-year-old takes a spot from this guy, who takes a spot from this guy, who takes a spot from this guy, and then the following year, everybody transfers. So now you just have, a continuous cycle of just transfers going from school to school to school to school to school.
I will tell you right now that high school players are going to start getting paid. It will flow downstream.
Well, there
It
are
starts.
states already that allow
It's
for
going to be
NIL
everywhere.
at the high school level. Um,
And why?
it-
What do you? I assume you're okay with that because you
yeah,
love
listen, I
college
am.
players getting paid.
I am. It's a job. These are jobs. They're full-time jobs. When you are a quote-unquote student athlete and you're supposed to be going to class, but you have hours and hours and hours of your day that go to, the weight room or film or practice or this or that. Like, those are jobs. And it was in the past that, these student athletes weren't even allowed to get jobs that paid them a certain amount of money because those would be, improper benefits. So it's like, you have these guys who are coming from these underprivileged situations in inner cities or, somewhere else, coming from poverty, who aren't able to get this sort of income.
That got
And then
fixed.
and then you're making them ineligible to play. So now that's fixed with NIL, but now these positions are, like I said, are just, just getting taken. But let's switch gears into something that's more fun, and it's not college sports. I'm on a journey right now, a film journey, and for the first time in my life, I am watching the Star Wars franchise. I just decided
Wow.
one day, you know what? Let me watch Star Wars. Let me see what this hype is about. Let me see if it's something that I'd be interested in. So I asked my friends, I was like, which way should I watch it? Like, are you supposed to watch it?
Can I guess what they said?
Okay.
Because your friends are in their 30s, right?
Yeah.
I'm guessing they said start with Star Wars 4 and go 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3.
Well, I don't know. So that's the problem. Is like are you saying like episode 1, 2, 3, or are you saying the release of the movies is in 1, 2, 3? So that's the problem
Yes.
that I have, and it
That's
makes
funny.
it even more confusing.
The original Star Wars from 1977
is episode 4. Is episode
that's
4
called Star Wars. Then there was Empire of the Sun.
The Empire Strikes Back? No, the Empire Strikes
Back, and then Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Those were the first 3 Star Wars released.
Correct, but those now, like, that's episode 4, episode 5, and episode 6.
Exactly.
So that's the
order.
order. Yeah, that's the order they wanted me to watch these in. So that's what I did, and
you watch 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6 meaning the first.
A New Hope, The Empire Strikes Back, and then the Return of the Jedi. So that's the order in which I've been watching the movies. The problem that I have is that it's hard for me with my eyes in 2025 to see what people saw when they were kids, or in 1977 when the first movie came out and they watched this movie and it blew their minds and it made it so it was something that they like needed to buy into and that they needed to, like, this was going to be their favorite thing ever. Because I watch this movie and I'm just like, God, this is awful. This is terrible. The acting is so bad. Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker is one of the worst performances in a movie. It's like I'm watching
a lifetime of that.
I know, and it's like I'm watching a high school play. I'm like, this is who people are like Luke Skywalker. This is the guy they're talking about. Like, what are we doing?
When people who grew up on silent movies and then all of a sudden talkies were available, you look back like with your kids on some of the greatest silent movies of all time, some of the greatest movies of all time, and your kid would be like, what are you talking? I can't hear them. What are they saying? They're not saying anything. And I totally get it. When you look back at 1977 and you see the little lightsabers and the little bullets flying through the air and the little whoosh, 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 all that stuff, you'd be like, yeah, that doesn't interest me. I get it, because I'll look at movies from the 60s and 50s in black and white, and I'll say, yeah, God, that looks so fake, or it doesn't interest me enough. And so you can't legislate against that. So there's just a generational thing. You're late to the Star Wars party. You will not have an appreciation for the movies of the late 70s that are special effects type movies.
Yeah, because when you watch big acting movies like The Godfather, right? The Godfather holds up. Yeah, the acting in it is tremendous. The story is tremendous. But when you're watching, like you're
Script.
saying, with when you're watching, these special effects, and it's like a person holding a piece of cardboard running across the screen, and you're like, come on, like really. But that's what I'm saying, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful, and that's why I put that caveat there that in my eyes of watching it in 2025 for the first time, I can't buy into it.
But that's why everyone's top 100 list is different, because
Mm-hmm.
my top 100 list definitionally will be different than someone who's in their 80s, and certainly different than someone who's in their 20s. Many people in their 20s, including you, if you had to go through my top 100, my guess is there's 70 movies in there that you haven't seen. But it's my list. It's not the best 100 movies in the history of the world. Star Wars is considered a groundbreaking movie.
Yeah.
And it will always be a groundbreaking movie. And it doesn't break any ground today. The definition of a groundbreaking movie is not that it's groundbreaking all the time. It's like Variety just came out with the top comedies of all time. I don't know if you saw that list.
Mm-mm.
It was they tried to rank the top 100 comedies. I think they had Naked Gun at 1, and they had Annie Hall in their top 5. Annie Hall was a groundbreaking Woody Allen comedy, which obviously people will not see now because Woody Allen's been permanently canceled, rightly so. But at the time, and then for 20 to 30 to 40 years after, Annie Hall was considered by every generation a funny movie. Comedies can last in a way that special effects movies cannot. And so people, E.T. is another Steven Spielberg example.
Yeah.
Have you watched E.T.?
Yeah, I remember watching that as a kid.
So I think it came out when I was a kid. So you may have watched it as a kid, but when it came out,
No, I'm not saying I didn't go to the movies and watch it, but I'm just saying I remember watching the film as a kid.
Probably on a screen, on TV, on a video.
Yeah.
That was a movie where, as a kid, and I don't know what year E.T. is, but you're watching it and you're saying, this is something I've never felt before. I've never experienced this before. That's what Star Wars was. That's why it was so generational, because no one could believe what they were actually seeing on screen. But for you to watch it now, if you showed your nieces and nephews Star Wars, they wouldn't sit still for 6 minutes of it.
Do you think that you have changed, or just the perception has changed on how you watch movies? So like when you went to go see Star Wars, you didn't go in there saying, "Hey, I'm here for the acting," right? Like I'm here for this, I'm here for that. And when you left the movie, you had all these big questions breaking down, storyline holes and breaking down performances. Because like now for me in watching this, because like I said, I'm trying to watch it like somebody who was in 1977, and it's just it's just tough for me to do it, because I sit there and I'm watching and I'm like, Princess Leia, her name is Princess Leia, and no one takes her serious as a princess, right? No one ever considers her any sort of royalty as I'm watching this thing. So I asked my friend, and it seems a little silly. I was like, is Princess her first name? Because I just don't get it. Like, why are all these people? Why are people just being named generals of this army when 2 seconds ago they were pirates? So I'm just really confused. The biggest scene in the second one is with Luke Skywalker, and that's like the line, right, where Darth Vader says, "I am your father," and then and then Luke is like, "No, impossible," and then he falls about 5 miles through the air, makes it through some slide, flies out of the spaceship, and then he's just able to hold on to like a piece of satellite. So I'm like sitting there watching this by myself, and I'm like, when they were in the theater watching this, are people losing their minds? Like, is this the point where popcorn is flying? Yeah, popcorn's flying up in the air, and they're just in disbelief watching this thing.
So, Coca, I cannot properly explain to someone of your age, I am your father. Who shot JR? Something you've never heard of, I assume, which is unbelievable. It was Luke and Laura getting married. There are just certain things that are cultural moments that are generational that were the most. When James Earl Jones comes out and says, "I'm your father," you might as well have been told that gravity is no longer part of Earth. That's how epic it was. Now, I'll admit something to you before we go for Thanksgiving. I didn't like Star Wars, but I had to pretend I liked it. I saw it in the theater, just like I had to pretend I liked rock music, but I really liked the light music growing up. And I liked the Air Supplies of the world and et cetera. And I had to pretend that I was into different bands because there was no social media. And people talk about how there's more pressure on kids today because of social media. I'm not buying it. There was water fountain pressure on me as a middle schooler and elementary schooler, tremendous. If you haven't seen Star Wars and love Star Wars, you're not cool. And if you don't, so I had to go see it at 9 years old. Didn't enjoy it, but had to pretend I did. If you don't listen to 95.5 WPLJ or 100.3 Z100 or 92.3 Rock, that may have been another one, then you're not cool. And I was a 105.1 Light FM guy. But you pretend, and that pressure is the same. I felt that same exact thing that kids feel today on Instagram or on TikTok or on Twitter. So I do take exception to people saying that, oh, it's so much harder right now. I can't believe the way kids have to do it now. And I assume your age, there was stuff going on that was hard about you.
Yeah, Harry Potter. Harry Potter was like the big one when we were kids.
You had to watch Harry Potter.
Yeah, but I
could
never get into Harry Potter. And I think the problem with Harry Potter.
You did?
No, because they made us. The problem was they made us read the books in school, and I didn't like being forced to read Harry Potter. Like I was like, that should have been a choice, right? It should have been a decision to read Harry Potter, and I didn't. Like I read the first one because you had to in class, and then I was like, nah, like this isn't for me. And they're like, well, too bad you're reading the second one, and I'm like, dude.
Did you do Spark Notes or Monarch Notes or Cliff Notes? Have you ever heard of those things?
Yeah. Spark Notes was the age of Spark Notes. Like that was
so we had
when it started.
Cliff Notes and Monarch Notes where they sum up the book for you so you didn't have to read it. So did you actually read the Harry Potter book or did you only read the Spark Notes?
Well, the Harry Potter one, the first book we had to read. Like that was one like you were like in class.
Did you read it?
We had to read it in class.
Oh, that's
like
weird.
In the class. I mean, you're learning how to read, right? And that's like the first bigger book that you have to read. So like you're reading it in class. So I had to read it. The other ones I don't really.
What about Catcher in the Rye?
Did you read that? That's like another one that was like required reading.
Right. Did you read it?
I don't remember anything about it.
Spark Notes, or did you read it?
Well, I don't, dude. I don't remember that. You know, Harry Potter was big enough.
What about the Odyssey?
The Odyssey was another one. Hey, that's another movie coming out.
I know.
That's the next Christopher Nolan movie that's coming out.
It was filmed on the Sony lot, and it was a very secretive shoot, and no one was allowed to go into the studios where it was shooting. But there were signs all over Odyssey shooting, and now it's coming out.
Are you a Thanksgiving? Are you a Thanksgiving guy? Like, do you like Thanksgiving food? Yeah,
I love
what's fun?
I hate the food.
Yeah, me neither. Me neither. I feel like, listen, like we have come so far from the time of pilgrims that we don't need to do it. We don't need to have turkey anymore. Like, let's all collectively be better. And there are going to be people who are going to say, you haven't had this type of turkey. You haven't had the deep fried turkey. You haven't had the fried turkey. You haven't had the this, that. Dude, I'm over it. I don't like turkey. I don't want turkey. And it's the main course everywhere of everything. Like,
cranberry sauce out. Stuffing, unless it's good, but mostly out. Kugel in.
Yeah, like
Pies
I'd rather
out.
barbecue. I'd rather a plate of ribs. You know, let's have a plate of ribs to celebrate family. But I can't. Yeah, I just can't do the turkey. And listen, if you're a turkey person, whatever, be a turkey person. I'm not a turkey person. Don't push your views onto me. Just like Star Wars, not a Star Wars guy. I watched it. I tried it. I can't really get into it, but the journey is going to continue. And just like Thanksgiving, the journey will continue with Thanksgiving, just without the turkey. I'll try something else.
Coca, happy Thanksgiving. Thanks for everything. I'm excited. I'm going to be with my immediate family for Thanksgiving, and I don't take it for granted. You should not take it for granted either. Please be present. Enjoy football. Enjoy family time. We will be back on Monday with a live show. Until then, thank you, Coca. It's just business. This has been nothing personal.